teammates batting against each other, Sebastian Bourdais, Scully Dixon. They have a history, of course, pleasant indeed, but nobody like beating more than your own teammate, and this will be bragging rights within the same team. The 68 car versus 69 at the moment.
Now let's look at the wider picture of that at the moment. We've had now 6 hours racing, and those three Fords are 6 seconds apart.
That's remarkable.
That's quite extraordinary. I'm sure Jeremy will have something to say about that when he comes on back on there in a short time.
Well, you know, they may well have been hobbled, but it seems that they are coping with it beautifully. Likewise, Malucelli, his Ferrari likewise had some performance dialed down, extra weight, etc. Flashing lights still going on. This is not to pass Bourdais just for the time being, I don't believe. Anyway, let's have a look. But that's the battle for second place. Ferrari is still leading just for now. We're just waiting to circulate through with its next series of changes. They've all taken 6. The 6 stops, that is the lead 5 in GT Pro.
So there are the two that are together. That's Bourdais and Dixon. Then just behind them, about 5 seconds behind Billy Johnson, and they are running, just to confirm, in 2nd, 3rd and 4th places. But the point I'm making, after 6 hours racing, to have those cars covered by just 6 seconds, that shows just how equal the performance is and the drivers.
Time for a bit of 69 on board here. We have Malucelli out front. In fact, he took the lead of this class in the pit stops. So I don't know whether it's more tardy for the Fords, but nonetheless, it's Ferrari out front in this class.
Well, of course, and the difference between these two Fords as well is that Scott Dixon has been on board now for a couple of stints. I think he may well have used tyres on there. Bourdais, as he's a new driver getting in, will definitely have a new set, I would imagine. So, yeah, that's the leader in the Ferrari. So Bourdais should be able to stay in front of Dixon, and I believe he's pulling away a little bit, isn't he?
4.5 seconds is the deficit just for the time being for the lead Ford in the hands of Sebastian Bourdais, and we've got a super slow art shot and a series of them for you. Take any of these and put them on your wall.
I thought I saw Fonzie in the back of that Corvette.
Really?
You know, Jordan Taylor's dog.
Oh right, okay. Well, there was a weight penalty, and we're reliably informed by Mark Cole that the average spaniel weighs 15 kilos?
20 kilos.
20. There we are.
The average Cocker Spaniel, called Teddy, weighs 20 kilos.
You're feeding him too much. Here we go. Excuse me. 93 laps. I don't think we're going to get anywhere near the lap record here, but you never know. The clouds that have bedeviled us seem to have absolutely dissipated. It's turning into rather a clear sky. Because of the lack of heat throughout the day, apparently we're expecting a very, very chilly night. 14 Celsius as a maximum, possibly going down to as low as 9 Celsius. So if you're here listening in, I don't know how you're managing it, but well done if you are, then you need to wrap up tonight. Possibly a little bit of respite from the rain for the poor souls who are in the campsites, which are a little bit muddy.
Yeah, let's hear it for them. Most of them have been there for 3 or 4 days. They've had the worst of the rain, of course, and just when we thought it was all over, it appeared again, didn't it, at 2 o'clock today, and we had this wet start to the race. We're still trying to think if there ever was a start behind the safe car at Le Mans. Audi and Porsche have racked their collective brains and they can't remember it, so I certainly can't in the 35 years I've been coming here.
Well, there's been an awful lot of toings and froings here. Possibly the most complex one was Jeremy Shaw trying to get into the racetrack itself. He had a couple of goes at it. It could have been even more serious, to be honest, because our muscle power, he would have actually had the vehicle stranded in the aforementioned mud. We're looking at the leader right now. More on Jeremy Shaw and his attempts to get into the stadium a little later on. Kobayashi leads then ahead of Bernhardt and Davidson's Toyota, making it a Toyota 1 and 3 at the moment. So there's filling in the sandwich is Bernhardt running in the number 1 Porsche as we speak, with Gianni's Porsche in the 4th place, and the Audi of De Grazzi, and Fassler's Audi, the number 7, is up to 7th place now. Absolutely outstanding. Great piece of retrieval. Only 2 laps down. Do not count them out. Just under 18 hours remaining then. Just doing a brief mental tally. You can probably hear my brain fizzing, to be honest. It's 4 laps from the second place, 5 laps from the top for the Rebellion. On 87 laps, the leader's on 94, so a brief bit of maths. 7 laps behind is the faster car.
But he is hauling in that Rebellion. That's a good point, and that's the 2-lap gap that you mentioned from the Rebellion is ahead of him. The number 13 Reb, which is one that hasn't had the problem. Matteo Tuscia, the youngest driver in the race, 19 years old, and as we keep reminding everyone, 2nd overall in the World Drivers' Championship, thanks to those 2 podiums at Silverstone and Spa.
There we are. We will be having a change of personnel fairly soon, but don't forget we'll be here for the entire 24 hours.
I can sigh of collected relief from our audience.
Yes, I'll be going to a darkened room where they just feed me cognac-covered sultanas. I don't know, that's a wood bunting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's another recipe.
Pizza, you like pizza, don't you?
Yeah, and just remember, guys, that those tweets coming, plenty to go, plenty of long time to go, and we've got 18 hours of racing ahead of us yet. As Toyota continuously, Porsche, Toyota and Porsche. Where's Audi, you're saying, if you're just joining us? Well, Audi, if it wasn't for problems, wouldn't have any luck at all, would it? So if it wasn't for bad luck, we'd have no luck at all still.
Yeah, and of course they're down to 2 cars, as is Porsche this year, so they don't have another one to call upon, do they? They're running 5th and 7th at the moment.
Tom Christensen, when he came and joined us for a while, said that doesn't mean you give up. He said the second car may not be in contention now, but the amount of data you can collect from that car and have the other one out, you try tyres out you're not sure about, you can try all sorts of things.
Well, of course, they'll never give up, and you know, at the very worst, they'll use this as an extended test session for the number 7. But I wouldn't, definitely not rule even that out, because there's just under 18 hours left, and anything can happen. And it's getting to the point of the evening where the sun is really low that we spoke about earlier, and it makes it difficult because it just pierces the driver's eyes, and it's really difficult to focus and really difficult to see the limits and the edges of the track.
It was almost poetic the way you described that.
Hardly.
But these pictures certainly living art, as Carlton was saying earlier. Here's Kamui Kobayashi-san, Japanese driver. This is his 2nd participation. He's had a 5th place here. Let's just look quickly while we're looking at Toyota. This is their 5th generation prototype. So I'm going to cut that.
That's a shame.
That's the Pegasus car. This is the only surviving Morgan. Maybe.
Well, I don't know. I think they're doing their level best.
Ines Tatting of the Champagne family. So she's gone straight on at Mulsanne corner and buried the car in the tyre wall.
Well, I'm not sure whether it took a spin before it actually got to that point. We're just, of course, hoping that she is okay. Let's have a look at it. Still can't see, to be honest.
No, she just outbraked herself,
yeah,
Carlton.
One of the few open cars, as you can see. So if you happen to be in the grandstand, you can see some blushes there. It's been a handful throughout.
Yeah, so Damien, what happens? She's in the wall. What do you do now?
Stay in the car. There is a rule, of course, that if you get out of the car and walk away, I think it's a few meters, it is, something like that.
So she's onto the team.
Of course, she's onto the team. The team will be telling her to stay in the car, stay buckled up, and wait for help. Of course, she's not going to get out. It's a gravel trap, so she's going to get beached. So someone will come. There'll be a yellow flag. There'll be a slow zone, and we're just seeing that yellow at zone 20. Just a yellow at the moment. Actually,
the only good thing in her favour, she's in a dangerous position. If she stays in the car, they can pull her out of the gravel onto the hard standing, and hopefully she can again get the car fired up and get it back to the pits.
Well, that's the idea.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lucky place, to be honest. If she wasn't in a dangerous position, she'd be left to it.
That's the point.
That's when the exclusion zone, I think it's 2 meters, so 6 feet away from the car, so you can't really stand too far back to appreciate or assess the damage, to be honest. Somebody asking about LED lights. You'll see 1, 2 or 3 down the side of the leading 3 cars. We're going to take ourselves a break. Some of you will be enjoying the 24 Minutes magazine after this.
19 and 20.
Hello and welcome to Le Mans 24 Minutes. We are live in the pit lane with
had about just over 6 hours of racing so far of the greatest race on earth. It's great to have Tom Christensen with us again. Tom, conditions a little bit different now from when we started the race. We've had nothing but blue skies since that first hour of rain.
Yeah, it was a lot of downpour, and now they got into rhythm. The second and even the third drivers have been through. We just saw before that the return now. Lotterer just jumped in, the number 7. So through their problems, they've had a big setback. Everyone is starting to the second run in the cars pretty soon, as the sun get into your eyes, out of forest down towards Indianapolis. It's now, soon the night will be there.
So they're getting a little bit sunstruck as they come to the low sun. But also today, Le Mans has been a little starstruck because there's been a very handsome collection of Hollywood stars here. Let's have a look at who we were visited by today.
Well, Alexander Wirtz took Brad Pitt around the circuit. Super G, Olympic gold medalist and multiple Alpine World Cup champion Axel Schwindel was on the grid, together with actors Brad Pitt, Jackie Chan and Jason Statham. Pierre Fillon, the ACO chairman, and the FIA president Jean Todt were also here.
This is one of the most thrilling, honorable motorsport experiences I've ever had.
Drivers, start your engines from pit.
So, of course, great to see Brad Pitt, Jason Statham, Keanu Reeves, Patrick Dempsey, Jackie Chan, but it's great because they're not all just here to show their faces. They all have a deep love and connection with motorsport.
Yeah, they don't know, most certainly. I mean, they are here, all of them, for the first time, and it's nice to see them being impressed of what the fantastic acting they have done on so many great movies. So it's great to see them here, and they're all very inspired. I mean, I had the pleasure of also now spending time with Jason Statham, taking him to a few corners, and he really loves it too.
Of course, he's famous for Fast and Furious franchise. Jackie Chan, who owned one of the teams here, KCMG, was in Cannonball Run. Keanu Reeves has a motorbike company, and Brad Pitt got a ride with Alex Wirtz. So a brilliant day out for these Hollywood stars. Now, down to the important business. LMP1 has been very exciting so far. The lead keeps changing. Just your overall impression.
Great. A 3-horse race, and Toyota's showing incredibly strong pace. Kobayashi making the fastest lap not a long time ago, and very exciting. Porsche seems to have the upper hand in control, but I'm not quite sure. When I just passed by there, the concentration and determination is there, listening on the radio calls. It's all, you know, there's tension, and it's lovely. Audi have the little setback, or big setback with 7, car 8. They hopefully will go well when they get into the tire compound, which might go more than 3 stints, what they have been doing at this so far.
Well, we're just standing. Only minutes ago, we saw Marcel Fassler get out and Andre Lotterer get in. But if you have been following the race so far, here's what's been happening in LMP1 up to this point.
The 84th edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans starts behind the safety car.
Well, Brad Pitt waved off the field with the tricolor, and due to the monsoon that hit the pre-grid, the cars were waved off under the safety car. And the field actually followed the safety car for 8 laps and 52 minutes before they went green. And it wasn't long before the number 6 Toyota of Mike Conway hit the front and started to set the pace, overtaking Loic Duval, the number 8 Audi, Timo Bernhard in the number 1 Porsche, and Neil Yarni in the number 2 Porsche to take the lead after the hour. In the sister car, the number 5 Toyota, Swiss driver Sebastian Buemi was also on the move. And the Toyotas were soon 1-2. After the first pit stops, though, it was Brendan Hartley in the 1 Porsche, the Kiwi, that took the lead. And surprisingly, the number 7 Audi, running so strongly early on, hit trouble. And it wasn't until 6 laps later that Benoit Trullier was wheeled back out of the garage. We had to change the turbocharger. Quite surprisingly, I can't remember the last time we had a problem with the turbo, but it happened, and the boys did a really good job by changing it. 20 minutes. It's very particular, of course, but for the race, it's unacceptable. Whilst one car was in trouble, the sister car, the number 8 Audi of Loic Duval, took the lead, and Brendan Hartley in the number 1, unperturbed, took that back going into one of the chicanes on the Mulsanne. As the Toyotas marched on, the number 6 of Sebastian Buemi almost forced into a mistake by one of the LMP2 cars there. And after the second pit stop, Mike Conway it was that was out behind Brendan Hartley. After 2.5 hours, it was Porsche, Toyota and Audi separated by less than 3 seconds. Mike Conway close to the back of Brendan Hartley, setting the fastest lap on the way.
I was pretty cautious in the first 2 stints. It's longest that we've been on tyres so far because we've had lack of testing and qualifying in the wet conditions. We didn't know how long we could make the tyres last. Just keep on track, and long way to go, but it's nice to be leading on.
With Kiwi Brendan Hartley out of the car already, it was the turn of Mike Conway to jump out of the 6 Toyota after an outstanding quadruple stint. Kamai Kobayashi took the wheel.
Seems to be getting better as the stints go on, so we just lost a little bit of time to Porsche on the 3rd stint, and then we seem to catch a little bit towards the end again. So I think always get that with the first set of tyres you're trying to go 3 stints with, so I think it'll get better first as the next goes on.
Oh, whilst Anthony Davidson had a problem with a puncture in the 5 Toyota, the number 1 Porsche continued to lead. Mark Webber at the wheel of that, followed by Kamui Kobayashi at the wheel of the number 6 Toyota. Kamui Kobayashi with the fastest lap of the race so far, and he leads Mark Lieb in the 2 Porsche.
That's
by
the story
40
so far, and
seconds.
just to bring you bang up to date, the number 6 Toyota is leading by 14 seconds from the Porsche number 1, from Porsche number 2, Toyota number 5, and Audi number 8. Now Tom and I have been joined by Dr. Ulrich. It's excellent to see you here outside the number 8 pit garage. How do you see how this first section of the race, the first 6 hours, has gone for your team so far?
It started very exciting because with the heavy rain we had, it was a very special beginning. I think it was the very first time in the history of the 24 Hours of Le Mans that race was started behind the pace car. If it died down, then we've been the first ones that changed to slick tires, and this was a good move. So we went with the car number 7 in the lead. Unfortunately, we've been catching a technical problem, a completely unexpected one. We had a problem with the turbocharger and had to change the turbocharger. The guys did a tremendous job and changed it in 20 minutes. But for sure, it was not what we hoped that we had to do. The race was then bouncing back and forward. The car number 7 is now 6 laps back. The car number 8 was always skipping in the lap with the leaders. We are now, depending from how the pit stop runs, in about 20 to 40 minutes behind the car that is on 2nd and 3rd position. So we keep on fighting there.
And we just saw Andre Lotterer getting in the car. Were there any special instructions for the stint for him? What do you want to see from Andre to make up some places?
Yeah, no, I know that. I mean, Andre was very strong at the beginning of the race. I know he's going to be strong again. But I have to say that we have really 2 nearly identical strong squads with the 6 guys we have. And I'm happy that we have these drivers.
Excellent. Now, Tom, it's pretty impressive that the team managed to change the turbo in 20 minutes. 20 minutes is still a long time in a 24-hour race.
It is, and particularly it hits hard when it's in the beginning of the race. It's absolutely very challenging, and it's a setback to keep driving back, and they have to do it. There's a world championship fighting on as well, you have to remember. So the boys, there's no doubt they will do it, and they can take a little bit more risk in trying to get back. But normally, without problems on the other cars, the win is out of the hands of number 7. But you can only win with one car, and that's the whole grid is thinking that. But of course, the 3-horse race is still on. With Toyota leading, Porsche is now comfortable second, and with car number 8 still very much in the hot fire. Because this race, the night is very, very important for the pace what you carry through the night, and that's still very open.
Do you think of Tom's doing his new job as a presenter for us?
I'm quite sure he's doing it great, as he did a great job with us for many years.
He certainly did. Thank you very much, Dr. Ulrich. Thanks, Tom. We're just hearing that car number 1, Porsche, is under investigation and it is in the pits, that halfway down the pit lane. So we'll find out more about that after this break. So welcome back to Le Mans 24 minutes. We are live in the pit lane. It's pretty frantic around here. The sun is setting behind the grandstands. We still have Tom Christensen alongside me. So we don't quite know yet what's happening with the number 1 Porsche team, but there's clearly something going on. The Toyotas are still leading, and I think Liz managed to catch up with Kamui Kobayashi quite recently.
Kamui, we've passed the 6-hour mark, or near enough, 1,000-kilometer race. The fight at the front, especially between Toyota and Porsche, is very, very strong.
Yeah, I think very tight for Toyota, but looking pretty good for ourselves. I think we had one more lap, longer stint, which is advantage for us. So, you know, we know our pace, and I think we can manage without trouble. I think this is the most important thing. So, take it not too over pressure and just be quiet, and hopefully I think we have to bring the car without any trouble.
And we're just coming into the night time now. Is the plan to do 4 stints for each driver?
Well, I think if we could manage, I think we could, but yeah, I think it depends how we can do. For the moment, I think it depends how it goes. For the moment, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
So Tom, Kamui Kobayashi doing a really good job in there. There are 16 drivers here currently in this race this year with Formula 1 heritage. Firstly, does that discipline lend itself naturally to endurance racing?
From the driving technique for sure, and the commitment of the driver and obviously expertise. But you need here really much to gel with other drivers, and it seems very good personalities in other ways has to suit each other and get a good have to get a good flow in terms of communication, be honest, be open, all the things which you tend to see a little bit from one. It's very narrow-minded, a lot of pressure, particularly from the media every 14 days. With the WEC, it's a bit less. People enjoy it here, but particularly at Le Mans, it really shows if there is some friction. Kobayashi has been very relaxed, like the attitude he came in with, was relaxed for the race. So it seems like he was able to bring that comfortable onto his first stints in the race in the LMP1 car.
I'm talking a little bit about Toyota. Obviously, they're leading the race now. The weight of history is upon them because they haven't won here at Le Mans. What will be going through the team's mind, the driver's mind, with a quarter of the race gone already and they're leading?
The whole Japan is really crossing fingers for them because they have tried so many times, and the only Japanese manufacturer who has won here is the screaming rotary engine with Mazda. So there's no doubt that Toyota really aims high trying to win. We know last year they were nowhere, and they have made a very good job coming back and already showing the pace they show now. There's no doubt the pressure is on everyone, but I'm very impressed with the race so far from Toyota as well.
We just saw a pit stop there for the number 61 Ferrari. I think we should have Simon Kupfer has an interview. Do we have Simon Kupfer with Brendan Hartley?
running perfectly well for you guys at the moment. The race is really close. Give us a little insight of how much risk is the driver taking in a moment like this, in this stage of the race.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it obviously on the road. That's the most important thing here in Le Mans, but unfortunately we just lost 40 seconds to the Toyota. They missed the slow zone, so yeah, they were able to pit while the slowdown was going on. So yeah, a bit disappointing. We've lost the lead of the race, but long way to go. We've got to keep doing what we're doing. We had a good start to the race, and the strategy guys are doing a good job, mechanics are doing a good job, engineers. So yeah, just keep it on track and keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's interesting. Thanks, Simon, from Brendan Hartley. It looks like they're getting ready for a pit stop here at Porsche, so we're trying to stay as much out of the way as possible. So talk to us a little bit about Porsche. Big win last year. They're fighting at the front now for a win. What's the strategy for them, think?
The strategy is always to go as fast as possible without taking any necessary risk. But you have to take a lot of risk to do the pace you're already doing. Otherwise, you're never going to make it. So it's to be comfortable. And I think they have shown pace, but it's irritating if they lose a little bit of time. Like if you have a strategy, some miss the slow zone not, which gives a setback. Obviously, you can hear it's a bit irritating, and that nerves and that gets on the tension when you are potentially in the car. So it's getting tough, and you also feel the pressure of not retaining the crown again, like anyone.
And it's unusual this year because, of course, Nico Hülkenberg isn't here to retain the title, but you can tell in that crew, particularly Mark Webber's crew, they really want to win. They came close last year. They really want this.
Of course, everyone really wants this, but you have to think moment, and they're doing that. And you can hear the radio communication, the way they are comfortable. But for sure, a few sets back, a little bit mistakes in terms of strategy. The heat is very much on, and the pace Toyota has shown, I think it's very good in the changeable condition. And in the night is changeable condition already with lower temperatures. So
it looks like we have to be very careful now because the number one Porsche is about to swing in. Porsche 1 is coming through the Porsche curves, appropriately named, and is on its way into the pit lane to see us. Now, as we wait for that to happen, of course, there are plenty of Porsches represented in GTE Pro. In a minute, we're going to have a look at the highlights of GTE Pro, but we've got the two winners from last year in LMP1 in GTE Pro. How much of a downsize is that for them?
Yeah, Earl Bamber, Nick Tandy did a fabulous job last year, both of them. Nick Tandy was superior through the night in his debut in the LMP1 car. So that takes a beat for him, but nevertheless, people know what he can do and still a young pedaler. And they will for sure maybe be reunited in future again with Nico Hülkenberg. That's for sure. It takes beat, but they still have a good job.
Well, let's see if this car is ready. So let's hang on here and have a look and watch the car come in. And Tom, what would be great is if you can talk us through the process that's going on as the car comes in live here on Le Mans 24 Minutes. So the car's coming in. If you could take over, just tell us exactly what the procedure is.
Here we go, and he has a good eye on the lollipop man, and he will stop inch perfect. As now you can see, he'll just touch the board and it will move a lot. They're on, it's cleaning the screens, cleaning the taking off, tear off of the light, cleaning the front windscreen, giving him another water bottle. The refueling is going on, so you can only watch with a lamp, the technician on the brakes, watch the tires, and the refueling will come up in a second. And immediately the refueling go off, the car will move.
Incredible. Amazing.
A well-executed stop, well-orchestrated, and they have done this hundreds of times in practice to make this inch and very good, perfect.
Thanks, Tom. Great job. So now, let's have a look at what's happened so far in GTE Pro.
Well, the battle in GTE Pro started with Ford on pole, Ferrari following, and the Porsches as outsiders. Well, the Porsche 92 enjoyed the rain and led the race for the first 2 hours as problems hit the 51 Ferrari. The 91 Porsche of Nick Tandy and the 92 of Earl Bamber, the 2015 winners, were fighting it out in GTE Pro, but it was Ford that hit the front with the 68 overtaking the 69. Problems for the 91 Porsche as overheating took its toll, and that was back in the garage at around 7:30 local time. It was the 68 Ford, the 66 Ford and the Ferrari 82 separated by less than a second. A big fight between those three. Just before the 9-hour mark, it was the 68 Ford taking a margin of around 25
wins 66, 67, 68, 69, the numbers of the cars, and it looks like Ford possibly could be on to do it again.
Oh yeah, it's early days, but they've shown what they did in qualifying under the changeable conditions. They're taking it into the race. They're through the first pit stop, and they are 1, 2, and 4. And that, in that sense, Ferrari is for sure the pressure is on. Into the rhythm.
In terms of the Ferraris and the Porsches, the Aston Martins, and the chance for Corvette to win again like they did last year. It looks like it's all Ford at the moment, but have they got the technology to go through the night? We don't know.
I would assume so. They made the debut at the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and they were pretty fast. They had some issues, but they have done miles since, and good drivers on board as well. Good team, 4 cars. That shows the effort they have done to come back. But Ferrari, don't underestimate them through the night. They have the experience. The setback is a little bit on both Porsche and Corvette. The BOP, it's how you spell it, and let's not talk about that, but that's always a fighting point within this great category.
Well, at the moment, the balance of power is less than 10 seconds between the top 3 in GTE Pro, so both of the main categories here are racing incredibly closely. I think Liz Halliday should be at Ford right now with Oliver Pla.
Thank you, Neil. Yes, I'm here with Olivier. Ford is possibly on the brink of making history in their return since 1969. Did you expect the car to be so strong here at Le Mans before you came?
Well, we were expecting something, but it was the first time for us here with this car at this track. So, but it's actually a very good surprise. I think the whole Ford team have been working incredibly hard to prepare this car at its best, and no, we are really happy at the moment.
And of course, now we're heading into the night. It's always a question of reliability. Do you have a plan for the stints through the night yet?
The plan is to push hard.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Back to you, Neil.
Well, I don't know if you saw that, because quick as a flash, that Porsche just left. Took a little bit of fuel, splash and dash, and it's gone. But don't you go anywhere, because we're right back after this break. Welcome back to Le Mans 24 minutes. Now the sun is just properly setting behind the grandstand. Now, I know that you said it hard for driver visibility, but for everyone else, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, for everyone else. It's also beautiful for most of the lap around, but basically it's out of the forest onto Indy. Very irritating.
Now, we have started with 60 cars. We've already had a couple of cars still in trouble. Shame, real shame for this. The 89, the Weather Proton. Cooper McNeil was struck sick. He had a fever, so he couldn't race. And the reserve driver wasn't allowed to drive because I think the ACO deemed he hadn't done enough laps.
Yeah, you need to do laps during practice. You can't change driver normally after not taking part in practice.
But this isn't something that we see very often. Talk a little bit about how the reserve driver works.
That's the challenge of Le Mans, and you have to be ready you have to be ready to go.
We're just being moved onto this over this white line by the marshal. Yeah, so, but I think, sorry, 2009 when
No, for me, basically, to be two drivers, that's always a chance to shine. And at Le Mans, two drivers is incredibly tough. Andre Lotterer, for example, I think he showed really his promise. When he had one of his teammates, Kartikeyan, unfortunately fell when he crawled the pit wall just before the start of the race, and had to sit down, I think, with a broken collarbone. And Albers, I believe, and Lotterer did the entire race, and Lotterer, particularly at night, really good introduction with a private Audi car from the team colors. And the year after, he was signed by Dr. Ulrich and joined us, and have so far done it extremely well.
So it pays off to get sort of 1.5 time overtime to do that one race with two drivers. I think a few doors down at Porsche, we have Simon Kupfer with Mark Miller.
Yes, Mark, this has clearly not been your day. First of all, you could only start with two drivers, and you were pretty good in the race. Tell us a little bit, what you think, how was the situation for you guys till you crashed out?
Well, it's unfortunate to not have a third driver, but I mean, the way I look at Le Mans and growing up seeing history from this race, it's always been two drivers before it became three, and those cars were much harder to drive back then than what we have now. So I thought we had a great opportunity. It's not necessarily the drive time that was going to be so difficult, because that's not the hard part. It's the recovery time, and you need to make sure you get the right amount of recovery. And we thought we had a plan sort of to make that work. So, I mean, I thought we had a great opportunity, especially looking at the leaderboard and where we were sitting and the pace of both of our drivers, with Lee and myself. I thought we had a great chance to be in the hunt for the whole race.
So even words for these guys. Thanks very much, Mark, for joining us.
Yeah, that is a real shame there, a real shame for that team, whether it's a Proton team. But there you go, it's Le Mans. They'll be back next year, I'm sure, and they'll fight again, whether they've got two drivers, three drivers, or one driver. Now, this driver is an absolute legend next to me. Showed us a little bit more about the intricacies and the difficulties of what the safety car involves, which was particularly relevant because this race, for the first time ever, started under the safety car. Have a look at this.
Ok, on fait partir le safety car avec Tom Christensen.
So let's take a lap. At this magical track. Normally arriving here close to 300. Start second gear, the Dunlop chicane. Kiss the curb on left. A little bit more on the right. Of this track. A likely top speed, depending on the wind, down towards the first chicane. Hard on the brakes in this official safety car. It's good to be home. 6th gear. 7th gear, up to the Michelin chicane. The sun is out. Fast in, but even fast out from the right hand. Very important to keep the momentum on these straights to achieve
good benefit. Into Ulsan corner, we're told there's some oil from here. Oil from the track from here and all the way to the finish line. Beautiful section going down to Indianapolis. Very slippery, I feel that. Indianapolis using the bank, a bit of the curb, accelerating up to the slowest part of the track, the Arnage corner. Beautiful section, setting you up for the very demanding pushy corners. Here they are up to 270, 280, the prototypes through here. It's very blind, even at daytime. Maison Blanc very fast, one gear down, setting you up to karting, where it can easily bite you. As the road drops off and the car really want to get out towards the curb. That was one lap at Le Mans. We just missed the Ford chicane, where you need a good flow to set you up for a perfect lap. But personally, it was nice to be back and just to test the tracks for this year's edition.
That's a fascinating insight there, Tom Christensen. While we were watching that, we saw what I think is the number 67 Ford has gone into gravel, which is a real shame. That's one of those cars down. When you are driving the safety car, not that you've necessarily done it as a job, what are the skills that are essential to keep the cars behind, the LMP1 cars who are raring to go?
Yeah, obviously I had the opportunity last year to lead the field around, and you simply are. No, this year we didn't get that start, obviously, but you're really driving the lap, so you start exactly on the point, 15.00. So you are leading up. In the end, you are going down from 110 to 80 to 60. And when you approach out of karting and you approach the last chicane, and you hear the field, you hear them. Sensation of this year's at the start, but the safety car driver at the start is on a time plan, so he has to drive very, very good in that, and he has a guy next to him to tell him to slow down, and I had that as well, and it was slowing down quite a lot.
Who tells Tom Christensen to slow down? Nobody. If you look carefully over social media over the next 24 hours, you should be able to see a 3D virtual reality version of that as well appearing online. Well, the pink fluffy clouds, the sun's going down, we're about to move into the night, and driving at night, as this man knows, is a very special set of skills. Allow Tom Christensen to explain.
Night of Le Mans, very special. Let's talk about driving at night. You can't get further away from the pit area than here. In a gear, you are arriving flat out into this heavy braking zone, pulling more than 4 Gs in trying to reach the perfect apex here at Ulsan corner. Driving at night a few years ago was dark all around the track, except around the pit area, which created a little bit of irritation and the eyes to adjust, and then you left, you are out in the dark again. Now, specific places has brilliant floodlight, and the floodlight creates this stadium atmosphere, and the fans love it because they can identify the cars or the favorite cars or driver better than before, even at night. And driving at night also means that the cooler air temperatures helps the aerodynamics. It's better for the engine and ideally also better for tires, maybe softer on brakes. But it has to be that you hit the targets. So basically when you leave the pit area, you immediately have to create temperatures and keep it on the limit. Try to look into that zone where you can perform the best as possible. It's difficult visibility. Sometimes you really don't see where you are, but you have to feel it. You have to feel it inside you when you are hitting these targets all around the circuit. The driver who takes it into the night, takes it through the dusk, and then in the night gives it to the next driver who will be completely into the night through his stint of about 3 hours in average, giving it to the third driver who will then have the benefit of initially the dark night, but then he comes out and take a little bit of the early light from the morning and getting into the sunrise. We call it the happy hour. It's a perfect time to be in the car. And when you perform well there, it's brilliant. And then there's only about 9 hours to the end of the race.
Tom, that's extraordinary. And I can't imagine what it must feel like to drive around here at low speed at night. And watching you now, watching the cars, I can see in your eyes that you'd quite like to be driving it again, honestly.
Oh yeah, obviously, I envy them, but that's not I'm a rookie, I'm learning, and that's what I'm doing now, is being here with you. But the night is magical, mythical, and it's coming in the next hour, so you get into the dark zone, and the drivers are just wanting to find that very much. Coming out, really hitting the target immediately. There's nothing better when that happens. If not, it can be the opposite, and it can be a terrible feeling. So night is very special.
And just before we finish today's show and carry on with the race, how do you think the next few hours are going to go as it goes into the dark? It's so open.
It's so open. What they're analyzing teams to try 4 stints on the tires in the LMP1 cars. At the same time the temperature goes down, that means the switch to the softer compound, which I know they have in the back, all of the teams. When they do that, is to go 4 stints or swap to the softer compound. That's something that's really going through the mind. And so it will be at least another 2 or 3 hours before we see who has the upper hand and start at the beginning of night.
Fantastic, Tom. Thank you very much from all the team here. Keep watching the race, obviously, but we're standing right outside the box of the Toyota that is leading the race with Stefan Sarazan behind the wheel. Will he still be doing that when we come back in the morning? There's only 17 hours racing still to go. We'll see you in the morning, but keep watching Le Mans 24 Hours.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage of the Le Mans 24-hour race. Jeremy Shaw alongside me is Damien Faulkner, and we are now pretty much into the dusk hours. The sun has set. Still pretty light out there, Damien, but a tricky time for the drivers as we go from that transition from lightness into dark.
Yeah, and the biggest part of that is the sun, of course, which has now looks to have just set and is behind some clouds there. So it's the 97 Aston Martin there, locked up going past the speed limit area. So he'll be fortunate to get away with a speeding penalty for that. But yeah, I mean, the lights are incredible on these cars, and to be honest, with the onboards that we see here, fortunately the drivers will have a little bit more vision, because it looks like you can see nothing from the onboard cameras going into the night, but the drivers have a better view, obviously.
They do. So it's 10 o'clock now exactly. That means we've been racing for 7 hours of this 24-hour race, and it's Stefan Sarazan who leads in the Toyota car number 6 by about 1 minute and 17 seconds over car number 1. That is the Porsche of Timo Bernhard, currently driving that car. In third place, the second of the Toyota, that's Kazuki Nakajima at the wheel of car number 5. He's about another 15 seconds farther back down the road. Behind him, is the second of the Porsches. That's Neil Jarni, the wheel of car number 2. That was our pole sitter, you'll remember. He's about 38 seconds behind Nakajima, another half minute behind him. The best of the Audis, Lucas de Grassi driving the Brazilian at the wheel of car number 8. The sister car number 7, that lost 6 laps earlier in the very early on in the race with the turbocharger problem. They had to change the turbo. Did a good job to get that done in just losing only 6 laps, so a little bit more than 18 minutes or so. Remarkable job by that Audi team. That car is running in 7th place, and in 6th is the best of the Rebellion cars. That's car number 13, Matteo Tuscia, currently driving that car, the sister car number 12. That had a lot of problems, and it's way back down in the order. In LMP2, it's Pierre Thirier, who has taken over the wheel recently of the number 46 car. That's a Thirier by TDS Orica Nissan. He leads from Stefan Riquelme in car number 36, who has just made a pit stop. Also in the 3rd place in that car, car number 47, the KCMG Orica. That also has just made a pit stop. And in 4th place is Roman Rusinov for G-Drive Racing with the Jota Sport team. Car number 26, he also has made a pit stop. Roman Rusinov in car number 26 had a drive-through penalty 2 or 3 hours ago now for an infringement, but still up there in the top 4 or 5. That's going to elevate Simon Dolan in the number 38, the sister car, into probably the second, well no, it'll be quite a way back, probably into the 3rd place in that class. In LMGT Pro, it's number 68 for GT of Sebastian Bourdais that leads over the sister car, the Ford Chip Ganassi Racing USA entry, number 69 of Scott Dixon. And then the best of the Ferraris, Giancarlo Fisichella for Risi Competizione, car number 82. Those 3 cars covered about 14 seconds at the moment. 4th place in that class, and the only car still on the lead lap in GTE Pro is Billy Johnson in the number 66 for Chip Ganassi Racing UK entry. Billy had a spin about an hour or so ago, but he's been running well since then. And in 4th place, right at the top 5, 1 lap down to the leaders in GTE Pro is Darren Turner, Aston Martin Racing car number 95. In GTE AM, it's number 88 machine. That is the Abu Dhabi Proton Racing Porsche, and it's Khalid Al-Koubazi who's driving that car right now, ahead by a little bit over a minute over the Aston Martin car number 98 of Pedro Lamy. 3rd place now in GTE AM. Jeff Siegel is driving the Scuderia Corsa car number 62 entry. That is a Ferrari 458 Italian run, but also by the AF Corsa team. So that gives you our leaders at the moment 7 hours down in this race. And Mark Cole has joined us as well again. He's back with us. And Mark, still a long way to go. And, it's certainly looking good for the Toyota team right now. They've been leading, and Stefan Sarrazin has just put that car onto, made another pit stop.
Yeah, and kept that lead. I've been thinking about that while we were on the break, and Toyota 1-3. Who would have expected that this far into the race? And of course there hasn't been an outright Japanese win since 1991. Johnny Herbert, Volker Weidler and Bertrand Gachot in the Mazda, that rotary Mazda that deafened half the crowd and certainly ended the racing career of Volker Weidler, because he just got this tinnitus after having driven that car for so long. The vibration and the noise, and but anyway, that was then. This is now. Can Toyota pull it off? 2 cars in the top 3 after 17 hours of racing.
It's very impressive. I mean, they've really done a fantastic job. They are running 1 lap longer than both the Audi and the Porsche at every pit stop. As a result of that, Stefan Sarrazin, he's just made the pit stop right now, and he's still maintained his lead over Timo Bernhard in the best of the Porsches.
Yeah, that's the really impressive factor, isn't it? We never really saw that coming, did we? And of course, we didn't have a chance to see how cars were going to really push, set their race pace in qualifying, because it was such a fragmented practice in qualifying, destroyed by weather, by yellows, by red flags.
17 hours to go, so P1, pace looks really good right now.
Well, there's a little booster there. There's an eco booster there for Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah,
well, guys, 17 go, we're leading. And we want to see you there in 17 hours as well, still in the same place. Look at the speed he's carrying, 300 clicks just then. Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. But Toyota looked fantastic at the moment, don't they? And their car is allegedly really easy on its tyres also, so they don't have that worry. They're going longer on fuel, they don't have that worry. And look who's set the fastest lap so far.
Yep.
It's Toyota.
Yeah,
so they don't really have that worry.
That was on lap 81. We're now on lap 111. And just looking so racy, Toyota. And we didn't really see this at Spa either, because they had the engine problems bottoming out in Eau Rouge, which sent these shock waves through the whole engine system, just damaged components. And they learned a lesson from that, though, Jeremy.
Well, you know, they've done a fantastic job over the winter. When they came here 1 year ago, they were so far off the pace.
What was I just saying to you about not bottoming out? He goes straight over the curbs in the number 5 car as Nakajima-san comes in. I think we'll see that again in a minute. He just completely misjudged the pit entrance.
Maybe he did, but this is a routine stop for car number 5. It's been stopping 1 lap later than the number 6 car. As a result of the fact that Anthony Davidson, way back, what time was that? Earlier this afternoon, it's about 6:45 with 55 laps in the books. Anthony Davidson made a pit stop, went back out again, complained of a vibration, put that car straight back in again at the end of the next lap. They changed all 4 tyres, and that is the difference now between the number 6 car and the number 5 car, although it was Mike Conway's brilliant opening stint in the number 6 that opened up a pretty handy lead. It really was tremendous drive, Damien Faulkner.
Yeah, it was super. It was absolutely stonking drive from him, and hopefully we're going to see more of that. Here's a replay of what Mark was alluding to just now. So Nakajima coming in, and completely missed the second chicane on the right hand side as he should have gone left. Went straight across the gravel. Yeah, that might have been a faster entry actually.
Yeah, I was just going to say to you how smooth and keeping off the curbs Toyota drives have been, and then Naka-san goes and does that. So I won't tell that one.
Do you think they spotted that advantage when they did the track work?
The camera doesn't show that just how steep that is down from the Dunlop Bridge down through the S's, and then another steep climb up the hill. And of course, that first corner after the Dunlop Bridge, forever known as Scott Corner now, after McNish's huge accident there 3 years ago when he tangled with Beltoise's Ferrari.
Slightly warmer climate than the Scotch Corner I know of in the UK.
Oh yeah. Well, we're going to be taking a break in just a moment, but we've still got a long way to go. As Jerry reminded us, 16 hours and 51 minutes of racing, and it's all live here on Eurosport. If there's a 24 minutes showing on Eurosport 1, switch over to Eurosport 2 if you want the live action, or follow what's been going on through Neil Cole and Tom Christensen's eyes, with input, of course, from our own Liz Halliday. We haven't had any pit interviews for a while, but plenty to come, I'm sure. Catch up in a moment.
Welcome back to Eurosport's live coverage of 24 Hours of Le Mans 2016. Martin Haven, Jeremy Shaw bringing the action. At least will be once Jeremy has finished eating his sandwich. So welcome back to the Circuit Permanent de la Sarthe. We have got a stunning evening here after the first hour of the race was run under safety car conditions. Let's just have a little recap for those of you who may be joining us later in the evening, stroke earlier in the morning, at lunchtime, or whatever mealtime it is where you are. Currently seeing the lead battle being fought out between the Toyotas, which are not nearly as fast as their rivals, but also can go further on fuel. Porsche lies second and third, Toyota in fourth position, and the healthy remaining Audi in fifth. In sixth position is the healthy number 13 Rebellion, and in seventh place is the Audi that blew a turbo early on in the race, and that is 6 laps behind its sister that is in second place. The leaders on 112 laps and the delayed Audi on 106. Behind them by 2 laps is the LMP2 class leader Pierre Thirier in the Thirier by TDS number 46 Orica Nissan. That leads Stefan Ricciarmi, the Monegasque, in the 36 Alpine. And Tsuge Matsuda, the third driver, has now cycled through into the 47 KCM2 car. And that is the story of the race for Porsche. They led early on with the number 2 car. Neil Jani jumped away at start when we went green at just a lap before the end of the first hour. And their number 1 car, originally driven by Brendan Hartley, then Mark Webber, now by Timo Bernhardt, that had been trying to battle the Toyota. But the number 6 car, Jeremy Shaw, that is the one that has had all the pace for Toyota, and that is the one that Mike Conway started, blazed the trail for them. But it is this ultra-low drag bodywork that Toyota have introduced for the first time in a race in this car that is the key to their success. Basically, it's more slippery through the air, so the same amount of power as everybody else has got is using less fuel. They're going further on a tank, and we reckon they can possibly save themselves 2 pit stops, which is over 3 minutes, just by being better at sipping the fuel.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable, isn't it? They've done a really, really good job. And as you say, the car is fast too, because Kamui Kobayashi has set the fast lap of this race as well. That's 3:21.4, so it's been a very, very impressive performance by the Toyota team. And Stefan Sarazan leads now by about 11 or 12 seconds. And the number 1 car, Timo Bernhard, in second place. The number 2 Porsche of Neil Gianni in third place. But both of those cars will be due pit stops fairly soon. The Toyota, Stefan Sarazan was in just 4 laps ago, and we can expect the next pit stop for the number 1 Porsche, that is the second place car, in 152 more laps.
Stunning shots on our screen of the Toyota going 3 wide down the hard shoulder of the former N138 Monte Road to go around the outside of wheel-to-wheel battle. The Mulsanne Straight is public highway. It is a 2-lane road, not a dual carriageway, 1 up, 1 down, and then there are 2 hard shoulders, and that is basically, as you find on most Route Nationale, or D roads as they are now in France. Blue lights flashing up ahead because there is a quicker prototype on the way, chasing down that slower, or marginally slower, LMP2 car in front. Number 8 Porsche, Audi rather, this is the car that has been in 5th position, having a routine stop, waiting now for the fuel to finish going in, and then the car will refire and be sent back out on track.
And the only real problem that car has had so far, Martin, was it wasn't an unscheduled pit stop, but it was a longer than scheduled pit stop just before 8 o'clock this evening, when Oliver Jarvis brought the car in for it should have been just a regular fuel stop, but at every stop they always open the left-hand door and exchange replenish the bottles that are in there, one for the driver, and the door basically wouldn't open. They had to take the door off completely, replace it, and that cost them about 25 seconds.
Ollie Baldwin wanted to know on Twitter, could we have a full list of retirements, Jeremy? It won't take long.
It won't. I think it's basically 1 car, I think, at the moment, so that would be the number 89 Porsche in GT Am. That's the Proton competition entry, the WeatherTech car with Mark Miller and Lee Keen. Cooper Neal also was supposed to drive that car but couldn't because he was not feeling all well this morning. So Mark Miller was at the wheel of the car when he had an incident up at the undertaking for the unlock curve, hit the wall pretty stoutly with the front end, and that is so far our only retirement in this race.
And the irony won't be lost on him that the fluid he went off on was dropped by a factory Porsche in the Pro class, so that cost them their participation in the race, unfortunately. As you say, single car so far retirement. We are a quarter distance in a 60 car field, biggest field records, the biggest field I can think of for a long time. We've only had 56 garages up until now, so we've only had 56 cars. We now have 60 garages, so we have 6 cars, because we're quite generous. We give them a garage each.
It is amazing, though, isn't it? Just 1 retirement after, what is it, 7.5 hours of racing. And various other cars have had various dramas, of course. We've documented some of them already. The number 67 Ford Chip Ganassi Racing UK entry, that of Andy Brio, they've had all sorts of difficulties. They had a problem right away with the gearbox, I think that was, and that was a lengthy. It took a while before that car got going. Then they had another problem later on, and then Marino Franchitti put it in the gravel trap up Mulsanne corner as well.
Now, did you hit to find out exactly?
Acknowledgement that it was quite simply drive error, which is unfortunate for Marino, because, you know, I have a lot of sympathy. What happens is you're braking from nigh on 200 miles an hour through a curved braking zone over a bump, and if you miss your braking point by just a few feet, you will have exactly what he had, which is the most almighty lockup with a car going straight on as the circuit inconveniently turns 90 degrees to the right. When the darkness set in, the track, which is a living, breathing thing, constantly changes its grip level because the temperatures are changing all of the time, and it can be the case that from one lap to the next, the car's ability to brake at that exact same point isn't quite there the next lap, and we see this a lot. Oh, just as we see a lights off on the number 47 Orica, third place
KCMG
class.
car. Matt House and Richard Bradley both driven. Suge Matsuda in his second stint in the car. So
the winning car from last year.
Yes, exactly. Winning team from last year, if not exactly the same chassis. KCMG chased the World Endurance Championship in LMP2 as well, came up shy in second place in the season's end results, but that is a car that is dead stick, isn't it? Exactly the phrase I was going for. No lights on, but somebody is home. Unfortunately, he's now going to have to cycle through all sorts of control delete options in the hope of getting the wretched thing to restart. But we're talking to the Manor team earlier on in the week, and they were saying there are so many supplementary backup systems. There's a second this for everything, a second sensor for everything, a second system for everything. So hopefully he will be able to sort himself out and get it back up. And he can get back to the pit lane. Again, it might just very simply be that there is a sensor gone down and it's trying to shut the engine down, even though the engine is perfectly healthy.
Here we get a second slow motion look at it. He has power, the lights are on, but he's lost drive. He's coasting to a halt. So either he's losing. What do we think, guys? Has he turned it off there? I reckon he's turned it off there. Try to control delete. Martin?
Right, Karen, no, I had a quick question earlier about why are there purple lights for Porsche? There are purple lights on the number 1 Porsche only in the pit lane. The number 2 Porsche has blue lights. It's to identify them at dead of night in the darkness with a glare of white lights coming towards you. White lights only means a prototype. Your car has a distinct light pattern. You'll see like little ribbons of light, marker lights, whites in the windscreen and so on to identify cars to their teams as they come down the road, so know exactly when to step out and usher it in. Carry on.
My brother Ollie's just tweeted me saying, is it possibly a drive shaft? I mean, yeah, anything that could lose drive, but at the same time, when you got to do the full ECU reset, basically you have to take all of the power off, wait a few seconds and try it again. Sometimes it fires, sometimes it doesn't. I'm surprised though to see that the lights were on after the drive had failed, but then they didn't come back on. Yeah. So we need to get to the bottom of that.
It's either turned itself off or he's turned it off. And a little slow creep away from the pit stall. Looked almost like a stall for the Thierry by TDS car. This car was second in the LMP2 class. Pierre Thierry is on board. His father's company, grandfather's company, I'm not sure, family firm anyway, supplies frozen food and frozen fruit products. He's, you know, the Captain Birdseye, who was referred to earlier on of France, and Thierry by TDS, racing in the European Le Mans Series in LMP2, which is the top category in European Le Mans in the last 2 seasons. Very, very strongly run team, strongly driven, strongly motivated, multiple winners. Got very close to last year's championship, and he comes back out still in second place ahead of number 26 Orica. Taken that, and then you can see the P2 car coming onto the Mulsanne. Look, there's 2 cars battling for position. He's flashing the headlights. He has to go onto the hard shoulder, and now he's on the right-hand side. Is that the right side or the wrong side? Right side of the road for a Continental driver. Trying to work it out in my head. You can see how tough it is when we're here. Blue lights flashing as he comes down to the first chicane. Got slow zones further round the track from Mulsanne corner on, and linking all the way down to Arnage now. So that's a very long slow zone, and that can't just be for the KCMG car.
Yeah,
partly it is for KCMG.
I would imagine. That car certainly hasn't yet come around. It's not completed that third sector on a lap, so it's now lost a lap to the leaders. In fact, 2 laps to leaders.
White headlights, one of our P1 cars that has all the look of being an Audi, coming down into the second chicane on the Mulsanne, picking off traffic as it goes. Evening at Mans. It is 16.5 hours of the there are 16.5 hours of the race remaining. You're looking down at the pit lane in the world's most spectacular race setting. Just talking to a few first-timers here before the race started, and one of the PR girls from the IMSA series, Kelly Brie, was saying this is her first time here, probably actually even shades centenary Indy 500 for spectacle and occasion. I'm glad to know that it is appreciated outside of Europe. Wherever you're watching, thank you for joining your Sports extended, live and flag-to-flag coverage of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. We ride on board down the Mulsanne straight with the number 2 Porsche. This is Neil Jarney, who started the car in foul weather conditions, just coming back out of the pits and into a very slow section of the track where the slow zone is a mandatory 50 kilometers an hour, Sam Hancock.
We were just asking off air what the little LED lights are inside the cockpit of the Porsche that we can see when we're riding on board, just to the right hand side of the windscreen. And I just noticed as the number 2 Porsche approached the beginning of the slow zone, there was a series of these flashing, in this case yellow LED lights, which act as a warning system to the driver that they are in what is confusingly, I think, called the next slow zone. What it actually is a deceleration zone, and those lights are a warning system telling them they must slow down in preparation for the next marker point, which marks the start of the actually restricted slow zone where the incident is being cleared up.
So effectively, next zone is a yellow flag zone where you should reduce racing speed anyway, but it is also the warning that you're coming up to the slow zone. Now also in front of the driver's eye line, which we don't get from this view, is an LED screen which replicates all the flag and light signals that are being shown around the circuit. So he'll be getting a blue screen if he's in a blue flag zone, a yellow screen in a yellow flag zone, an 80 screen in front of his eye line in an 80 zone as well. I've had probably more texts asking what are the purple lights inside the Porsche than on any other Le Mans subject, and the answer is we're guessing, but that's what we think they are, because we haven't been told by Porsche.
I'm interested because we're riding on board here with the number 2 Porsche as it goes blazing through the Porsche curves. I love that sight when they're unimpeded by traffic, using all of the road. Those yellow lines that you just saw him driving over beyond the white perimeter line of the circuit as he came out of the Porsche, there's deeply corrugated grooves gouged into the tarmac there that is supposed to act as a disincentive to go beyond the track limits, but we often see drivers going over them regardless, because A, it adds so much to your exit speed, and B, the cars are so strong these days. Oh, and coming into the Dunlop chicane, there's LP2 spin. That's the Murphy Prototypes car. The Porsche has to take evasive action. I think it was Neil Jarney's Porsche, the 3rd place car, and he went...
That's Ben Keating aboard the 48. Yeah, locks it up under braking, backs away from him.
The bike cost coming in the red decision go the inside. Meanwhile, Jarney
was
goes
the
barreling
car. So that was the 2nd place car. It was 2 red lights. That was Timo Bernhardt, I think, possibly, in the Porsche that took evasive action.
Yeah, there's very little to choose between those two, because after that pit stop that they've just made, there's virtually nothing between them. They've both been onto the pit lane just recently, but how they got quite so close together again, I'm not quite sure, because before that round of pit stops, they were separated by quite a long way.
Well, the last pit stop's a minute 6 for the number 1 car, minute 5 for the number 2 car, so it wasn't on that pit stop.
It must have been just as a result of that slow zone out there, because it's a long slow zone. While they were pushing that car out of the way, the number 47 car, they come to a halt there. I guess the number 2 car, well, also it was number 2 car was on pit lane while that stop was happening. So the number 1 car was out there going very, very slowly as well. So that enabled.
Yeah.
So then the number 2 car, they close right in there. So very little between those two. And Kazuki Nakajima, in car number 5, he's within 10 seconds of those 2 Porsches as well.
Saw shots there of some of the external activities that go on around here. Apart from eating and drinking, listening to the radio and watching the races, there's all sorts of other things going on. Not sure they've got the show with the snake lady and all of that, the bearded lady, all the things they used to have here in the 80s. I think those have probably been sort of moved on to the less reputable locations, but certainly rock concerts every night, lots to see in the village, lots to go and buy in terms of team memorabilia, Le Mans memorabilia. The museum is open as well, which has got stunning car displays. The Americans actually blown away because the return Ford 50s on from their third win. There's a massive American influence at Le Mans special exhibition this year, and that's always worth seeing. You think, well, no, if I went to Le Mans, I'd watch every second of it. I guarantee you wouldn't. Apart from anything else your planner wouldn't let you. But you know, it's an astonishing thing where you can go away from the racetrack for half an hour, 6 hours, and come back. They're still racing. It's still the same race. It's just the most ridiculous thing ever. So there's so much to see and do. And if you come for the first time, I was talking to some guests at the parade on Friday night, and they said, what should we do? I said, everything. Everything you get offered, yeah, we'll do that. Everything.
Yeah, you've got plenty of time to feel. It's nice for me to see that Americans at the exhibition featuring the Cunningham C4R that I was lucky enough to race recently. In fact, I've raced it a couple of times at Good in the members meeting and the revival meeting. Fantastic car. We had a race win in that, and here it is, much celebrated, on display in its exact specification that it raced here all those decades ago.
One of the delights of historic racing is seeing cars that you were not either alive to watch race or present to watch race, and that's, you know, that's why historic racing per se and events like the Good Revival are so popular, because they kind of recreate glorious races. And we haven't got Ferrari 250LM versus Ford GT40, but here we've got those same battles being played out by the modern versions that hopefully our kids will then be hankering to see in 40 or 50 years time.
Back to the action, we've got a flurry of multi-category cars winding their way through Porsche curves, trying not to trip up over one another. For me, I love this view where you've just got a little bit of ambient light left, but it's dark enough for the headlights of the cars to be blazing. And from a driver's perspective, this is definitely my equal favourite time of the race, along with sunrise. If you're lucky enough to be the guy in the car that gets the full transition from light to dark or vice versa, so it's like a gradual process, what happens is you very naturally, subconsciously alter your vision. There's no sense of shock having to refine your feet. It just happens automatically, and it's a lovely sort of focusing thing to find yourself in the dark. As we're looking at the pit spot, you get an idea of how aggressive a driver change can be. Door opens, you get hauled out by the scruff of your neck for the next guy to get in as fast as possible.
Well, and that's the format we use here in the commentary booth as well. The door opens, the hook comes in, and you're off air.
Yeah, but whoever was getting out there was clearly hopping his on the leg there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was some problem there.
Yeah, I wonder whether he's run into a cramp issue. It is a tailor-made car. It's not particularly long in development. It may just be that the seating position. We talked about making custom-made seats. Maybe that his seat insert is not quite comfortable enough, and is starting to pinch nerve, and he's ended up having cramp. Battle here between Pat Long and Pedro Lamy. And Pedro Lamy has been racing GT cars since the 1990s, when Pat Long was still in, well, he quite often wears shorts because he lives in California, but in short pants. And Pat Long, one of the standout GT drivers, and Pedro Lamy racing for one, of course. He's raced prototypes, had a lot of time in GTs. He was a factory called Viper driver, among other things, and still racing hard. And this is for the lead of the class in the GTE AM category. Aston Martin, Pedro Lamy now at the front of the field. Now the Aston Martin bosses are down watching in the Porsche curves, so they'll be particularly excited in a couple of minutes to see Pedro coming past in front.
He's just taken the lead on this lap, halfway around this lap, as Pedro Lamy. I think I'm pretty sure that's the first time an Aston Martin's led in this race. The GTE AM cars, of course, they're the 2000 2015 specification, so they're not the latest and greatest that run in GO Pro class now. They have the longer diffusers, more downforce, better aero. These are the same cars that raced last season, and Pedro Lamy, of course, had a lot of experience in Aston Martins and is now taking over the lead of this race. Patrick Long, and it was Patrick Long that led in the early stages as well.
As our US correspondent, although Jeremy Shaw doesn't sound very US, does he? Pop quiz from Cole Trickle. You might guess from that name in which direction of motorsport we're going. Which 4 drivers, I'm going to throw this open, answers on a postcard please, or Twitter if you must. Which 4 drivers in this year's Le Mans 24 Hours have NASCAR starts at Cup level, top tier NASCAR starts? And he gives us a hint, only one is from the USA. If Boris Ed was here, that would be my first pick immediately, but he isn't. 4 Cup start drivers. Okay, there's one for Twitter, at Martin Haven, or at Jeremy Shaw Racer, or even at Sam Hancock.
No, not at Hancock_Sam. But if you want to ask us any questions, just use the hashtag #AskEurosport. You don't need to type in all of our Twitter handles taking up valuable characters. Just ask your question, hashtag it, #AskEurosport, and we'll try and answer it for you on the air. Or alternatively ask the audience if we haven't got a clue what the answer is. But I just want to go back to that lead battle between Pat Long and Pedro Lamy in the GTE AM category, and just acknowledge that we're 8 hours into a race thereabouts, and they are separated by tenths of a second. It's unbelievable.
And that is replicated in the other 3 classes as well. Welcome back to night time at Le Mans. 16 hours and 20 minutes and counting into the world's greatest endurance motor race. The moon is out in a near clear sky. It is cool, clear, and this is the witching hour, Sam Hancock, when the power really starts to come. Cool, clean air charge, still dry track, and your car is going as quick now perhaps as any other time in the race.
Well, it does, but I'd have thought exactly the same. But tell me this, look at the timing screens, you'd expect it to be a flurry of blue, faster sector times, lap times and so on. There's one faster sector, and that's from Ollie Gavin, who's quite far down in the GTE Pro class right now. Why are we not seeing quicker times?
The best lap out there, best lap of the car for Michael Alicia in Touring car number 27. He's currently running in the 6th position now in LMP2, just ahead of his teammate Victor Schauter, who's quite a shoe, Victor Schauter. But you know, it's awfully difficult, isn't it, to get clear laps at this time of night too, because there's still a heck of a lot of cars out there. Just the one retirement.
Yeah, only one retirement after 60 starts. We've got a couple of other Halton Lane. The 47 KCMG car stopped out on the track, hasn't made it back to the garage yet that we've seen. We're not aware what's happened. The team haven't put anything up on Twitter. And did we rescue the Aston Martin? I think we probably did. That had that big looping spin, didn't we? So that is still running. Andrew Howard waiting to take over the Beechdean car. Martin Short, hello Martin, why aren't you here this year? Wants to know, Sam, how you bent the roof on the Ferrari in your first month.
Listen, I deliberately took care of that in the private confines off air on Twitter, and having had him throw me right under us, you just had to come and voice it.
There was another bus coming, what can I tell you?
I feel a conspiracy theory.
Okay, so our
welcome
NASCAR,
back to Eurosport.
Welcome back, Eurosport. Our NASCAR answer, Nelson Piquet Jr., that was a good call. Ollie Gavin, I'm not sure, I don't think so. Briscoe and Dixon, Scott Dixon, Ryan Briscoe?
I don't think
it's a possibility.
I don't think they did sprint cup races, did they?
I think we're going to have to get Cole Trickle to answer the answer. Spookgadgetman wants to know, how do the drivers not get blinded by other car lights? Well, you do get dazzled, but you have to make sure that your interior mirrors have got a kind of slight dipping effect on that won't be a bad news thing in the day, but slightly negates the effect, because you see when they come towards the camera, the lights are very, very bright indeed.
Johnny O'Connell may have made some road course starts in NASCAR.
Johnny O, yes. Well, see, Ron Fellows was always a good shout for that when he was racing Corvettes, but he's now retired.
He's here, of course.
Is he here? I didn't see him.
Yeah, he's very much part of the scenery at Corvette race. With his wealth of experience, he's very much a brand ambassador, but very much involved also in the team side of things as well.
I thought he was still running Canada Time Motorsport Park. And Jonathan Wesley reckoned it was Pujun Jin hopping from the Eurasia car, although the team said he was getting in. So
to a NASCAR?
No, out of the Eurasia car. So I'm not quite sure what was going on with that. And another question, I've lost it on Twitter. How much would the #1 Porsche cost? Well, the glib answers are, 1, if you have to ask, and 2, they're not going to tell you because it's an open number. It doesn't matter how much it costs. It costs what it costs because if you win Le Mans, it didn't cost that much. If you don't win Le Mans, it costs quite a lot. But honestly, there's no earthly way a team of that caliber is going to tell us how much it costs to run a car, to buy a car, because they're not for sale to anybody at any price. So I'm afraid can't possibly tell you. Andy Frio, NASCAR Cup starter. No.
So just a slight diversion, just keeping half an eye on the battle for third place between the Porsche of Timo Bernhard and Nakajima in the Toyota behind. They're separated by just 14 seconds, and that's a gap that's been fluctuating between about 11 and 15 over the last few laps. They're running around at a vaguely similar pace between 3:24 and 3:26, which is not amongst the quickest times we've seen. The Porsches certainly earlier on had this slightly unusual habit of throwing in one astonishingly quick lap right in the middle of their stint that could be between 3 and 4 seconds faster. Just wondering, we got this #7 Audi back in the pit lane now. That's having
wing adjustments going on. You can see all the way through there is another wing tab and that long twiddly thing on the end of electric screwdriver. Essentially, they're going to adjust that to give them a little bit more wing, the denser air, a little bit less wing.
Maybe.
We've had time on the grid to make a wing adjustment, and if they did for rain, have they not had a time to take it off? But you're right, it's back in the garage, and they go in the garage, Sam, don't they? Because you're only allowed to have maximum of 4 people working on the car in the pit road. And so any work that needs doing, they throw as many bodies at it, so they wheel it into the garage first.
They do, but obviously they've got bigger problems, wing adjustments right now to deal with, which is why the car is back in the garage in the first place. They're just taking the opportunity to trim the car according to the latest feedback from the driver as the temperatures change. I said a minute ago, it's amazing. You don't just start this race, find that the car had particular balance and enjoy or not enjoy that to the end of the race. Everything is changing all the time. Any race circuit, especially one that's derived from a predominantly road surface that's used by public traffic for most of the year, it literally is a living, breathing thing. It changes throughout the night especially, and you can go from this beautiful, what we call happy hour, early in the morning, just as the sun starts to rise, but the air is very cool. There's a huge amount of grip. The engines are delivering tremendous power because of the cool, dense air. And then all of a sudden, in the space of what feels like 20-30 minutes, it gets really slippery and greasy out of nowhere. And it's the dew and condensation on the road. And these guys are just having to feel that out every single lap.
Lucas, we have to make a repair to the car. The 7 car has the same. The guys practice it on the 7 car, and then we'll do it on ours. So you gotta stay out, okay?
Oh, my goodness.
Big news there from the Audi team.
Now then, is it the front? Because the engine cover is off. #7's already blown a turbo.
Well, we were saying earlier on that very unusually, having had this turbo issue on the #7 car, it's such an unusual occurrence. We heard Dr. Ulrich saying earlier on they never have anything like that. So it's not as though the sister car has been driving around thinking, oh God, how long until ours happen? So maybe they've had something else come up, or maybe they just feel they've got to play the safe game and make the repair anyway.
You notice, although the team member there pushing the camera back out of the way as he was trying to get the air hose to allow the car to come back down, no longer are they using sight screens or walls of bodies to stop us seeing what's going on in the garage as much as the camera can from the pit road, because the ACO banned that specifically last week, because they said if you're here to race and the door's open because you've not retired, we get to see in. I think that's an excellent choice. Now, whatever the issue was, it does affect the number 8 car. Talked to Tom Christensen before he came in on air, after we had the conversation originally about the number 7 car and its turbo failing. We heard from Dr. Ulrich saying, well, this is not expected. Tom saying only like 3 or 4 years ago, and he was still racing, they had a slew of turbo failures, and he lost to Le Mans because of one of them. If he'd won 9 times, of course, we'd given him an umbrella on the grid, but he only won 8 times, so it doesn't count for. But if you've got a car that is built so individually and so specifically, and there are 2 of them that are identical, it's unusual. One's going to have a mechanical problem that's different from another one, and that, you know, it's so early in the race, you're going 18, 19, 20 hours hoping that the same problem doesn't afflict car that's identical and was built next door. I mean, you know, they're twins, they're brothers from the same mother. It's unlikely that it's not going to strike both cars.
He did win 9, by the way, Tom.
10 then.
Yeah, exactly. But you pointed well taken, Martin, and it is remarkable, though, isn't it, that the Audis having all these problems. They've had difficulties in the first few races of the season, but not with turbos, as far as I can have understood.
Yeah,
but it's all sorts of niggly little things.
So no, exactly.
They had a drive shaft failure on the or a what do you call it? Step gear from the electric motor to the front axle during qualifying, and now the problem with the turbo early on in the race, and now another problem here, which they were very, very careful not to divulge exactly what it was during this last few minutes, and there was a 5-minute pit stop almost for that car 7.
Pat Long is being thrown up by Joanna Reitbend as a US sprint car driver, and Gabor, I'm going to murder your surname, so I'm not going to do it, but Gabor, you know who you are. Neil Johnson, he said, did a NASCAR Busch race in Montreal, but that's not top tier, that's not cup race. Ian Court reckons Ryan Briscoe, Townsend Bell, seems unlikely. Johnny O'Connell, your own Blake Mo, Scott Sharp, Nelson Piquet, we think definitely. Johnny O, I think, is a great shout.
Scott Sharp, probably.
Yeah, possibly.
Probably.
Sebastian Bourdais.
So.
Poussin's not in Cup. Jan Magnussen not in Cup. Scott Speed, well, he's not here. Somebody suggested Darren Manning. I know Darren Turner's the same Christian name, but they're not the same person, so that doesn't work. Scott Sharp started one NASCAR Cup race at Watkins Glen in 1992. Yes, admit Glenn Allott, I did Google it. Very good, Glenn, well found. Ryan DL. Again, I'm not sure. By the way, if anybody's got chocolate sauce sweeties, we're in the middle of the upstairs row of porter cabins, and I didn't go shopping yesterday, Sam.
Please, sir, my hand is up because the number 8 Audi of Lucas de Grassi has just come in for that pit stop for the repair that we just heard the engineer get on the radio and warn his driver that they will need to do. So let's keep a close eye, if we can, on the cameras and see if there is any indication of what it is that it has failed, or they are making a preemptive strike on the Audi.
While you watch Olivier Plas on board, I can see that the number 8 Audi has arrived and is on pit road and is still on pit apron. Why? Because they are fueling it first. They're going to do a driver change. Lucas de Grassi will get in, but if they need to do anything else, and we have heard them say they do, we're going to need to fix it. It's going to go back on the trolley dollies, and there you go.
Yeah, and this is 3 laps earlier than we'd have expected this car to be on 2 lane, because generally it's been in the pits every 12 occasionally, or more usually 13 laps. This stop is just 10 laps since this last one.
Okay, this is sleight of hand at the front. What's going on at the back is the engine cover is coming off, so it's not a wing adjustment. The wing adjustment, we're getting around a wedge or whatever at the front, but the engine cover is off at the back as well. This is sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors at the front end. 5 to 11 in France, 5 to 10 British summertime, 16 hours and 4 minutes to go. Imogen and Max Attry, the race will still be on when you wake up in the morning. It is bedtime. Be told. You won't like Abby when she's mean. She gets very mean. Okay, that public quick service enhancement over. Martin Hayden, Jeremy Shaw and Sam Hancock. We're riding on board 4th place in the GTE Pro class with Olivier Pla in the Ford GT. We've just seen the number 8 Audi come in for what Audi's Twitter feed says is routine service, fuel and tyres. They neglected to mention it was pushed back in the garage. Both ends of the bodywork were taken off, stuff was done, and it was pushed back out. So we're going to have a bit of a guesstimate as to what it was, Jeremy Shaw. Wasn't an extraordinarily long shot.
No. And triple stint there. Olivier Pla is informed will be starting. He's just gone on the pits a few laps ago. No idea what they would have been on the Audi, quite frankly, but it did cost them about an extra 2 minutes by going back into the garage and back out again. But clearly they learned something from number 7 car, because that stop was 4 minutes and 54 seconds. The stop for number 8 car was only 3 minutes and 30. Generally speaking, when you change drivers and fuel and take on tyres as well, the stop's going to be just a little bit less than a minute and a half.
But generally speaking, that doesn't involve a trip to the garage.
Indeed.
Because you can do all that with the standard number of people. Okay,
it might have been routine,
yeah,
but it certainly isn't something you would plan for before the race meeting.
No, and having then told the driver on the radio they had to stay out until they were ready to fix what they needed to fix, which was the same as the number 7 car's problem, clear it wasn't a routine stop.
Just want to flag up an intra-team battle in the GTE Pro class, the battle for 3rd place between the two teammates at Ford GT, Richard Westbrook and Olivier Pla, both bashing in fastest first sector times for their respective cars from the whole race. They're currently separated by just 0.6 of a second. That was even less at the last split. So keep an eye on those. We're currently sitting with the number 5 Toyota, that's Kazuki Nakajima, having just pitted, and they're in 4th. That looks all very routine. Nothing,
all very
nothing
routine. There was a spare nose cone in the other garage. Now it may be they've changed onto their night nose. Yes, such things exist. Predominantly, they have in the past been used to include better lights, bigger lights, brighter lights for nighttime racing, plus also a slight aerodynamic tweak to allow for the cooler conditions and the slightly denser air of the night time here at Le Mans. We're going to draw a line under the NASCAR deal. We gather that Jan Magnussen raced, I lost it now. Pat Long has raced, Jan Magnussen raced in 2010 at Sonoma, and we've got to the end of that one. Still no chocolate though, and no sweeties have turned up in the commentary booth. So let's get back to the race. Top of the tree, Stefan Sarazan, number 6 Toyota. This car has been firmly in control for the last 4 or 5 hours. It leads the number 2 and the number 1 Porsches.
Yes.
With the number 5 Toyota now in 4th place.
And number 2 and number 1 in that order. They changed places a couple of laps ago. I don't think we saw it. And I must admit I missed where it must have happened out on the racetrack. That change has taken place because number 1 car has been ahead of number 2 pretty much all day long. But that now is the apart from the early laps run behind the safety car before the race got underway properly. So yeah, that is a change now. Jardy, the pole sitter, back up into 2nd place ahead now of Timo Bernhardt.
LMP2 class being led by Pierre Thirier in the Thirier by TDS number 46 Oreca Nissan. Nicolas Lapierre in the Alpine Nissan, the number 36 car in 2nd place, and René Rast, the pole sitter in the category lies in 3rd place in the number